Our next presentation has the title, It's Not Snack Time, Why Communion Ought to be Practiced with Raised Bread and Alcoholic Wine. Please welcome Sophia Richardson.
We were starving. The time had come for our long-awaited family excursion to Costco. My sisters and I burst through the store doors, hopped onto a long orange loading cart, and carefully navigated our 7-foot chariot through the aisles. Finally, we reached the frozen aisle. We scrambled off the cart to behold the multitude of large white booths that held the wonders of every starving customer's dreams: samples. Even after devouring these delicious delicacies, we looked back over our shoulders, glancing longingly one last time at the 10-course meal on wheels. These samples were but a glimpse of the true feast tucked away in the freezers. Similarly, there is a miniature meal that Christians come to eat, which is but a foretaste of something greater to come. Communion not only makes our taste buds, but also our souls hunger and thirst for the day when we can partake in the marriage supper. And like the antsy girls in my anecdote, we should be on the tips of our toes with hungry stomachs, awaiting the day when Christ comes to magnify the Eucharist. Jesus, on the night when he was betrayed, took bread and wine, blessed it, and gave it to his disciples, in order that they may partake in remembrance of him. The church calls this holy meal the Lord's Supper, a thanksgiving memorial of Christ's death and resurrection. It is practiced with either the elements of bread and wine or wafers and juice. Bread was distributed during communion throughout all of early church history until the 8th and 9th centuries, when the Catholic Church began consecrating wafers rather than bread. Many Protestant churches distribute wafers during communion because it is affordable and easily mass-produced. There was no dispute about distributing wine during communion until in 1869, American teetotaler Thomas Bramwell Welch introduced grape juice into communion. Many Protestants have adopted this practice, while other Protestants, Catholics, and Orthodox distribute wine. Although many churches distribute wafers and juice to represent Jesus' body and blood during communion, I argue that the use of raised bread and fermented wine demonstrates the most faithful adherence to Jesus' instructions for communion, because it displays obedience to Jesus' direct command and the symbolism contained therein. When God commands something of us, we must obey. In Leviticus, Yahweh commanded that the Israelites make sacrifices in a specific manner, with the expectation that his commands were followed out precisely. One scholar clarified that Yahweh would not have been pleased if the Israelites had simply thrown some meat on the altar. In the same way, when Christ calls us to imitate him in our practice of communion, we should strive to obey him to the best of our ability. After all, Yahweh said in Luke 9:35, "This is my son, listen to him." To obey Christ's commands fully is to imitate the manner in which he practiced communion. The Greek word for bread during communion is not the word ozumos, meaning an unleavened flatbread, rather the word artos, meaning a raised loaf of bread, often associated with the leaven which makes bread rise. Jesus distributed in the Greek oinos, meaning fermented wine. In Ephesians, Paul writes, "Do not get drunk with wine." The same word oinos is used here, and since one is unable to get drunk off of non-alcoholic wine, the wine which we distribute must contain alcohol. Now that we have seen what the communion elements ought to be, we must recognize the importance of taking them. Bread was available to both the rich and the poor, as it was an essential food in ancient times, and wine gladdens the heart. Christ chose elements which unify every Christian, whether rich or poor, Jew or Gentile, around the covenant table, where they drink the cup of redemption in rejoicing. A helpful analogy found in the centuries-old Didache is that symbolically, the church is like bread and wine. It is made out of many individual bodies, like the grain and the grapes, is ground up and pressed when Christ sanctifies it, and is brought together every Sunday to be resurrected into one body, bread, or drink. Bread and wine also must undergo a temporary death in order to become what they truly are. Wine must be stored away and undergo the physical transformation of fermentation, like Jesus' body, which was stored away in the tomb. And bread must undergo this physical transformation of rising, like Jesus' body on the third day. While the grain of wafers are ground up, they are not baked to be resurrected. And the grapes of juice are pressed, but not made rich through fermentation. Both stay in a death-like state without symbolically resurrecting. A reasonable objection arises related to this practice of communion. Protestant reformer Zwingli proposes we should not use alcoholic wine for the sake of alcoholics. Additionally, we should be concerned with gluten intolerances. Christ, throughout his ministry, cast out demons and healed lepers in order to bring his people back into the communion of the church. Are we, like Christ, not called to make accommodations for those who cannot partake in Christ's blessings due to physical afflictions? Indeed, we are, by serving non-alcoholic wine and gluten-free bread. Let me clarify. Non-alcoholic wine is not grape juice. It is made in the same manner as alcoholic wine, only with the alcohol extracted from it after fermentation. And gluten-free bread are not wafers. It is a raised loaf of bread, which symbolizes Jesus' resurrected body and that which he distributed during communion. It is a sign of reverence to bring that which symbolically represents Christ's true body and true bread. For broken sinners, there is a meal of hope. When we adhere as Christ calls us to, we are spiritually nourished. St. Thomas Aquinas describes communion as a spiritual medicine. Medicine is meant to treat disease, and in the same way, communion reminds us of the only antidote to sin and death, Christ's sacrifice. Christ's leavened loaf, his body, raises our lives and redeems us. Christ's fermented wine cleanses us and makes us white as snow. So what is it that we miss when we practice communion simply with wafers and juice? We neglect obedience. We miss the symbolic depth held within the elements and lack the glory of the resurrected bread and the rich wine, which points us to a heavenly feast. Do we care what Jesus says? Communion is not just a meal. It is the meal which prepares us for eternity, pointing us towards a heavenly feast free from the mental and physical ailments of this fallen world. No more addiction, no more disease. Let us then, as we partake, look down at the bread in our hands, envision the true bread of life, Christ himself, holding us in his hands. And may we see the new heavens and the new earth, where the table is set with a perfected banquet, a feast to satisfy us far greater than anything we have ever experienced before. Thank you.